So if you all have been keeping up with the Blue Lock manga, which I assume you have, you would know in the last match that Isagi was able to surpass Kaiser for one play along with Yukimiya and beat Manshine City 3-2. Now the last few chapters have been chill chapters, there haven't been any matches or anything going on. It's mostly been training and whatnot. But what I want to bring light to now is the most recent chapter as of the date of recording this, which is chapter 208. And this chapter does have some heavy implications for the future of Isagi and the skill. The chapter starts off with Isagi, Igaguri, and Raichi training, specifically doing stamina training with shuttle runs and whatever. And Isagi and Raichi are doing pretty well, but Igaguri, obviously being himself, falls out the first. And while doing this training, obviously with Raichi being the kind of stamina beast of Blue Lock, Isagi being able to keep up with him even a little bit is pretty interesting. And whenever Raichi kind of taunts him to saying what's the matter since he is falling behind, Isagi replies, "Like hell I'm losing." The next thing we see is him doing one-touch pass training with Krona, and then off-the-ball training with Hiyori and Yukimiya. He's able to get into Yukimiya's blind spot and take the ball from him and shoot an amazing shot, with Yukimiya even saying that the way he shook him off was just plain nasty. And then we cut to Igaguri saying Isagi's crazy good, and he's becoming more and more like a monster. The next scene we see is Isagi explaining metavision to Hiyori, and he says it's basically using his peripheral vision so he can scan and read the entire field. He then goes on to say it's kind of an extension of the reflex thing that he told him about, which Isagi used in the block placement match to surpass both Rin and Shido. But although this does boost his skill like crazy, it does have a drawback, which is that it drains his stamina like crazy. Hiyori then says that that's amazing, but that time his movements couldn't keep up with his thought process, and Isagi replies yeah, that's why he's training his body, so that he'll be able to keep up with his metavision and playmaking. Krona tells Isagi that from outside looking in, it looks like Isagi has evolved at an explosive rate, but from Isagi's own perspective, he's just steadily leveling up. But Isagi says that that's what he thinks growth is all about. Krona then says that in the last match, his playmaking and movements were off the charts, and from the bench, it looked like he was manipulating every single player on the field. This confuses Isagi, but Krona goes on to say that the fact that he was able to perfectly read everyone's mental state with his egocentrism thing, it's no wonder that Yukimiya felt like he was a godlike game master on the last play. This causes Isagi to think back to his match against Rin in the second selection, and to what he did to Baro, and leads him to say that he did it in the Neo-Egoist League and against the world's best, and he might be ascending to the next level. He then says even if his training is a success and he successfully levels up, the chances of winning against Kaiser is only about 50 or 40%. Hiyori says that it's fine if he's able to put up that much of a fight against Kaiser, but Isagi being an egoist says it's not good enough, and there's no point unless the chances of winning are 100%. He goes on to think that the last game, the only reason he was able to play freely was because he had Noah as support. But he won't be able to become the best player if he continues to play like that. And even if he used metavision to read everyone's egocentrism and play the game perfectly, for him to score with 100% certainty, he's still one piece short. We then cut back to Igaguri and Raichi, to which Igaguri had just flopped on the field and faked a foul, and they're arguing about it. And Igaguri says that now he's mastered the technique to draw fouls on anyone who dares to challenge him from his right side. As stupid as the argument is, this does cause Isagi to start thinking, and apparently think of a winning formula that can destroy Kaiser. He quickly dashes out of the room thanking Igaguri and calling him the best, and the whole time while running he's just thinking, oh man, I can definitely win with this formula. But for him to master it before the next match is impossible if he tackles it alone. And he stops in front of the training room. One stop, he says the player that can help him utilize this new piece he just found is him, and we cut to Kunigami Renosuke training. He then says, yo muscle freak, I need your help. Now there's a theory I saw on Twitter talking about what Isagi's evolution will actually be, and I wanted to credit the person that allowed me to use this theory, and I'll put the link to the thread in the description down below. The theory starts with acknowledging that whenever Isagi is tackled and forced off balance, it makes him need a second touch to the ball, and his goal goes up in smokes. This happens multiple times with Isagi, such as when Kaiser did it, which I'll show on the screen here. But going to someone like Kunigami, who's multiple times been shown to be trying to get tackled by multiple players, but just doesn't budge at all, as well as being ambidextrous, Isagi would mostly lose his weakness and be able to shoot with either foot, plus having a stronger core. So basically the weapon Isagi may need in the future is Kunigami's initial weapon that was revealed in the first selection, the lefty shot, which would allow Isagi to score even if his center of gravity is completely disrupted due to his strong physical stats and core. And the final thing to put this all together is that if you look at the actual lefty shot piece and the puzzle piece in the newest chapter, they're basically the same but they're flipped. Now this does give me a lot of hope for Isagi in the future match with the Ubers, since I do want to see a rematch with him and Baro, and with Baro being able to score a hat trick against Spain, I feel like Isagi definitely does need an evolution in order to combat this kind of player, and having more physical strength would definitely help him with this. As well as we can't forget that Baro is a very physical player and he probably will try to defend against Isagi in the match. So if he does that, but Isagi's advanced his core, Isagi will arguably probably be able to fight back against him, and even maybe take a shot while Bara is attempting to tackle him. Now, while this is an interesting theory and all, there are a few things that could disprove this possibly, such as the narrative implication of Noah's ambidextrous skill being just straight up God-given talent and not something you can really reproduce on your own with like training or whatever, as well as Kunigami's not all that good with his weak foot, as it does get blocked by a goalie. Not to mention that Isagi, while using Metavision, says that he only needs to raise his stats a little bit more, and obviously becoming ambidextrous by no means would make him a little bit better. There's also the fact that since the U20 match, we've seen that Isagi's core strength is something that he needs, as Sei is able to knock him off his balance and says that without a stable core, he can't use a direct shot at all. So what Isagi really needs to evolve himself is definitely physical strength, and that's been the implication for quite a while. Now you might be wondering how this all ties into Isagi, since he's one of the least physically active players in the whole game. Like, we haven't seen him play in such a long time, but it actually does kind of tie in, since right now Kaiser doesn't think that Isagi is very strong physically, since the last time he fought him, he was able to knock him off axis pretty easily. But if Kaiser tries the same thing again, then Isagi should be able to overcome it, assuming that he does train his physical strength and his core body with Kunigami. So essentially, Isagi will be beating Kaiser 100% by acting, just as Isagi does. Essentially, the combination of metavision, egocentrism, direct shot, and acting for a favorable position against Kaiser will be his 100% formula for beating Kaiser. And we might even be able to get to see this soon, since the upcoming chapter is literally called Versus Ubers, so there might be some kind of time skip. So in conclusion, Isagi may be able to beat Bara with the help of Kunigami by strengthening his physical body and his core, as well as maybe even strengthening his weak foot in order to score goals with it. And as for other people that I think may evolve in this match, we can't rule out evolutions for people like Kaiser or even Ness, since we know that Ness is very angry that Kaiser is more interested in Isagi than himself. We also might even get to see a Bara evolution, since he obviously wants to be better than Isagi always. So this upcoming match is definitely going to be something we've been hoping to see for a while, and might even be the turning point for Isagi. Kunigami may even get an evolution as well, since he does seem to be more important than just a physical trainer at this point in the story, being Blue Lock's wild card. Now, while this match is something I'm heavily looking forward to, the match I'd say I'm most looking forward to is the match against Paris X-Gen. Since that team has people like Shido and Rin, two of my favorite characters in Blue Lock. You know, talked about Shido a lot on this channel. I've openly said that he's my favorite character in Blue Lock a few times. And they're also kind of just measuring sticks for Isagi as well. And I want to see their evolution, since Shido as a striker is insane and no one can really handle him except for Seitoshi. But I want to see also what he can do alone after training overseas and, you know, internationally basically. And Rin, being Sei's brother, obviously has one of the best potentials in the series, so I also want to see his evolution along with Isagi's. Not to mention that Julian Loki is on that team, who I've also wanted to see play once again, and it would be interesting to see if Isagi can perceive him now, since he wasn't able to perceive him in the World 5 match. But we also have to admit that even if Isagi is able to see him, he won't be able to catch up to him at all, just because his physical speed just isn't on that level. But that basically wraps it up for this video. If you enjoy this type of video, make sure to like and comment down below, and also subscribe to the channel, since I do have more Blue Lock content out right now, and I suggest you go watch some more of my videos. But yeah, goodbye.